Christ Church in Tourmakeady was opened in September 1853. It was built by the Church of Ireland Bishop of Tuam, Thomas Plunkett, who had taken up residence in Tourmakeady Lodge in 1831-1832. Plunkett was a champion of an evangelical campaign known as the Second Reformation.
The most significant evangelical society was the Irish Church Mission Society, financed by subscriptions from England. Their campaign was in the Clifton area, Achill and the Lough Mask region. Schools in these areas were poorly funded, and the Mission Society saw school children and their parents as a focus for the society, and this was where Plunkett ran foul of the local clergy. What became known as the War in Partry was a conflict over the influence that the Second Reformation was having on the schools and the education system. An important part of the conflict focused on the tenancy of the parents of school-going children, who were expected to convert, and if not, were under threat of eviction.
The curate in Tourmakeady, Father Peter Ward, in resisting Plunkett's efforts, said his parish was invaded with swarms of jumpers, striving to seduce the poor at their dying, hungry moments, and that the mission school in Cappaduff was the scene, nightly, of theatre where is enacted scenes of abuse and calumny against the Virgin Mother of God. Ward also stated that Catholic tenants on Bishop Plunkett's land had been evicted to be replaced by Protestant tenants. Father Ward was replaced by Father Patrick Lavelle in 1858.
A colourful and controversial character, Father Lavelle left his post in Paris under threat of arrest. In fact, he tried to steal the famous Cross of Cong. This happened in the Royal Irish Academy in Dublin, where the cross was kept. Lavelle put the cross under his cassock and walked out with it. However, he was arrested on his way to the train station. Lavelle set to work preaching about the dangers of the mission schools, and within weeks there were reports of people throwing themselves on their knees in church asking forgiveness. As a result, only a handful of Catholic children remained in Protestant mission schools. These were employees of Bishop Plunkett who would face eviction or loss of employment if they took their children out of school. Lavelle was also pursuing tactics of confrontation with the promoters of the Second Reformation, the mission teachers and the mission agents.
The Protestant mission countered this by saying that since that gentleman's arrival, Father Lavelle, in Tourmakeady, the newspapers have had to record day after day acts of violence on the part of the people and violent language on the part of the priest. The violence, including a threat to shoot Father Lavelle by Richard Goodison, a missionary at Ashley near Nan, led to the establishment of 4 new police stations in the area. Tensions came to a head in January 1860 with the murder of Alexander Harvison, a Protestant employee of Bishop Plunkett.
Having spent an evening visiting, Harvison called into Hewitt's Bar on the 31st of January 1860. He left, and on his way home he was shot around midnight. The reason for his shooting was never established, although Harvison had caught a fellow employee of Plunkett's poaching, and this resulted in threats against Harvison. More mysteriously, on the night of the murder, 6 sheep had been impounded for trespassing on Bishop Plunkett's land. The bishop's men in charge of the pound, on hearing the shot, left their post. When they returned to the pound, the trespassing sheep had been liberated and disappeared.
One of Lavelle's court appearances had to do with the removal of an animal pound that Plunkett had erected beside the Catholic Church. The proximity of the pound meant that Lavelle's sermons had to contend with bleating sheep. Lavelle one day led his flock from Mass in the church and tore down the pound, for which he was charged.
An agreement was reached between the parties in spring 1860. It proved short-lived, as in November 1860, Bishop Plunkett moved to evict. Families were evicted for burning gorse on their land, summoning the bishop to court, or for assaulting scripture readers. He did this with the help of the RIC Constabulary and British troops. Public opinion turned against Bishop Plunkett. Further evictions occurred in April 1861 and resulted in the bishop becoming an object of vilification. In 1863, he sold his estate, and he moved to the Bishop's Palace in Tuam, where he died in 1866. He is buried at Ballyover Church, Tourmakeady.